Just tap it in and slide.
Yep. Bum. Well, I feel like I should be telling you guys jokes or something.
We're live.
I'm like, somebody got something, so I'm like popping the gum. Okay, mute. I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay, we're live. All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Terri Wilson, and I am here with Romance in the Capital. And our session this morning, or this afternoon, I guess, actually, is on self-care for authors. But if you're not an author, don't feel like you can't stick around. Don't feel like you can't be with us. Because self-care, we're all creative people, and we're all going to be helpful. We all need self-care. All right, so I'm going to introduce everybody real quick. And when I do, if you guys could just quickly unmute yourself, say hi, tell us a little bit about what you write, maybe approximately where you're calling from. You don't have, or not videoing from, I guess. You don't have to like tell specifics. And just give us a little bit about you. Elizabeth, we're going to start with you.
Okay. So I'm Elizabeth Lister. Well, I write under Elizabeth Lister. I will be writing under A.E. Lister very soon with 9 Star Press. And I write graphic, erotic, gay, BDSM usually, romance. There is romance. And I like the idea of this panel because I actually was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis about 10 or 11 years ago. So self-care is really, really vital for me.
Okay. And I am going to try to log in here so I can also see the comments. So Shayna, let's go with you next.
Hi, I'm Shayna Krishanamy. I'm here in Montreal. I'm an author. I write literary fiction and young adult fiction. I also write romance under the pen name Lola Rooney. And I work in the self-publishing department at Kobo.
Awesome.
I'm the merchandiser there. So any Kobo questions you could throw my way also. That doesn't really have anything to do with self-care, but whatever.
Hey, that's okay. And well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Sasha, we're going to go with you next.
There we go. Learning to unmute here. I'm Sasha White. I am in Edmonton, Alberta, and I write pretty much contemporary, little bit of delving into paranormal and sci-fi, always sexy and hot. And self-care is super important to me because when I first started writing, I didn't know anything about the industry or the business. And I was trad published, and I walked away from it after 5 years due to depression and burnout. And when I came back to it, I had severe health issues because an eye stroke and like I said, depression. And again, just turned 50, recently diagnosed with ADHD. So self-care has become a huge, huge, big thing for me. So that's why I'm here. I want to share my story and help any way I can with other people to not fall into the traps that I did that really made my health go downhill.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Eve, we're going to go with you next.
Hi, I'm Eve Vaughn, and I also write under the pen name Taylor Vaughn with my writing partner, Theodora Taylor. I do sci-fi, contemporary, paranormal. I write a lot of alcohols. That's my biggest thing. Self-care is super important for me as a sufferer of depression most of my life. It particularly pertains to my writing because there was a year where I was putting out content like month back to back, and that burned me out. And it got to a point where I couldn't write anymore. So I had to take a step back and gradually get back into it. So that's why self-care is super important, and knowing when to take a break.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to bounce back and forth between devices so I can make sure I get everybody's questions. So I think I've got it set up now. Okay. So Amy, we're going to go to you next.
I write for Harlequin romance under the medical line, so like Grey's Anatomy. I also write romantic suspense with paranormal elements. I started my career a long time ago with Alora's Cave, so I have a lot of paranormal type books sitting on my drive doing nothing that were published. Self-care is important for me. Not only do I have autism, my son does. I learned about my diagnosis after my son. So I was dealing with his special needs. I then took care of my mother who was sick with cancer, and she ended up dying in 2018. And I was near burnout. So I've learned, yeah, self-care is super important for me, just to keep managing and keep going.
That is definitely a lot to deal with. All right, thank you, Amy. Alexa, we'll go with you next.
Hi, I'm Alexa Gregory. I'm in Ontario, just outside of Ottawa, the national capital. I write paranormal romance that like slides very much into urban fantasy. And, you know, self-care, very important topic, especially right now. I feel like we all need a little boost in it. I also have a few diagnoses that make it so that for me, self-care is definitely something that I need to stay on top of. So that's that.
Awesome. Well, Alexa, you brought that up. So why don't we start with, if you don't mind, I'll ask the first question to you and then we'll kind of go around. And authors, if there's something you want to just let us jump in, and if you want to interrupt, just kind of maybe let us know, and then we'll stop and let you add to it. So during this time, it's a crazy time. Yeah, I wave. I mean, this is such a bizarre time. Like 3 months ago, there's no way any of us would have ever thought about what's going on right now. So what are some things that you're doing now that you are perhaps stuck at home and you can't get out, that just kind of help you to keep from going crazy? Alexa, we'll go ahead and start with you if you don't mind.
Well, I'm just going to start by saying that I knew this was going to happen in like December, January, and I'm not being dramatic. I'm the kind of person that I need to know everything that's happening in the world to maintain any normal level of anxiety. I am an extremely anxious person. I have panic attacks that are quite particular. So for me, knowing exactly what's going on in the world is super important. Now, that also has a super bad downside, simply because the more you know, the more panicked you are, especially in these super crazy times. I was already working at home because I'm a writer, right? So I was already working at home in my pajamas when all of this kind of started happening. So it hasn't changed anything for me. What it has changed is the world around. And one of the things that I've noticed is changes in my husband, changes in how people are connecting. And, you know, I am someone who is going to want to isolate when things go poorly. So I've been feeling the need to isolate. And sometimes I'm like, you know, it's a good thing because I am not human right now and no one wants to be in my presence because I am not operating on my normal level of calm, or just I'm not okay enough to deal with other humans. Now, that's also a catch-22 because sometimes in those moments, that's when you need somebody the most. And I've been so lucky during this time. My therapist was like, hey, let's do your therapy sessions online with video chat. And I was like, oh, amazing. Yeah, let's keep doing that. So I have an extreme privilege that I'm able to, one, afford that, and two, that I can still keep up with therapy. Because for me specifically, like, I don't know if anybody else on here is like that, but I need my therapist. After therapy, I feel cleansed. Like, it helps me to no end. Like, I will go and have another session with my therapist before I do anything else, you know? So for me right now, just being kind to like other people and how they're relating to this, and being kind to yourself and taking the space to allow yourself to live in this kind of brave new world is important. And sometimes that space can be alone in a corner in the dark or cuddled with your partner on the couch. Like, it just, listen to yourself. And I know that's super easy, but listen to yourself.
Awesome. Eve, what are some things that you're doing to kind of get through this crazy time?
Well, right now, since I work from home, I didn't go out for a job, an outside job. This was my full-time job and still is, but it has changed a little bit for me because the schools are closed. So not only I have to figure out how, to get my writing time I've become a teacher because I have to, I'm in charge of my daughter's education more than I, have been before, making sure that her work is scheduled. And with her being on the spectrum, particularly kids, with autism, and Amy, you would know they need structure, and it's really hard to explain to a kid, doesn't understand what the pandemic is and why she can't go see her friends. And I mean, that's been a really big challenge for me. Is just finding things for her to do, to keep her entertained and making sure she doesn't fall too far behind with her schoolwork. And it's basically me, her, and the dog all day because my husband's an essential worker. So he goes out, works. He's only home like 2 days a week. So it's been a little bit of a challenge. Even though I'm used to being home, it's been tough because even though I don't have to go out, now you're forced to be home and you want to go out and do some things that you can't do. So that's been maybe like a bit of a mental game for me. But I have done things. I've just found joy in the little things. Like I've taken up reading. I haven't had a chance to read as much as I used to. So I've been reading a lot more.
Yeah, totally.
And like people say, take up a hobby, but you know what? Watching Netflix all day. It's okay. It's okay if you want to watch.
It's a good hobby.
I mean, I'm a huge anime fan. Anime is my passion. So I've watched a few new anime. So that's what I've
Sasha,
been.
you can go ahead and unmute yourself if you want.
I just wanted to know what you're watching on Netflix.
Oh, well, you know what? The last thing I watched was on Hulu, and it was called Little Fires Everywhere on Hulu with Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington. And I tell you,
it's so good.
It was so good. There's not
So
a lot
good.
of characters, but it was so good.
Awesome. Thank you. Amy, what have you been doing during this time?
Well, like everybody else, this is my job, so it really didn't change. It was funny. I was isolating way before it started because my other kid was sick.
You were isolated before it was cool.
Yeah, so I was home anyways when one of my kids was sick because one of my sons has severe asthma as well. He has autism and asthma. He's got a double whammy. So we have to be very careful anyways when he's sick. So I'm like, crap, like it's been hard because I have to keep structure for my children. I have a daughter who's going into her last year of high school, so she can go off and do her online learning, and I just have to make sure she gets up before noon usually because she'll sleep all day. But my sons, yeah, I have to provide structure because they don't sit there too long or they get frustrated, or like my son, he'll get distracted and go off and do something else. So I've had to sort of, my quiet time is sort of gone for writing. They're always here, always around. My husband works from home. He sort of is an essential worker depending on the job site, but he's now working from home and he has a lot of calls. So like it's totally disrupted my schedule. And I had a book due April 15th. I had to write in the middle of this pandemic, which was hard. It was so hard to do. One of the things I've learned since my mom passed, I joined a gym that does boot camp style classes. That was a very inclusive, safe place. They've been doing workouts online, and so I can still get my workouts in, which is the way I beat my anxiety, my stress, everything. That's the way I burn everything out of me. So I can still get my workouts in. So that's helping. I've been doing a lot of sewing and crocheting, which is what I was doing anyways before. So I just, when I can't work, I'm not killing myself to stare at a computer screen right now. And I've watched a lot of Netflix and stuff like that because it's just about taking care of yourself. Yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Awesome. Can you still hear me, Amy?
Yeah.
Amy, can you hear me? Okay. Let's go to Sasha.
Month and a half has just been trying to get back to normal life and being able to, it feels normal to me, strangely enough, because like I said, I do get to go to work and
Right.
we wear masks. It's different at work, but it's just habits. It's just a change of habits. It's making sure you're, washing constantly, and we wear masks and we do, and social distance and everything. And luckily, the customers in our store are mostly regulars and they're really respectful of the new changes and everybody embraces it. So it's not that freaky, other than the shelves being empty and disappointing and stuff like that. So for self-care wise, I feel like I'm pretty lucky actually right now being able to go to work. It's self-care is different right now because I'm not getting my creative outlet, which is really hard because the part-time 20 hours a week has become 40 hours a week. And when you're there, you don't realize how stressed and how exhausted and how mentally and emotionally exhausting it is until you get home and you realize, holy crap, I can't think, I can't write, I can't work on my website. I don't even want to go onto social media. It's just like brain dead, and you don't realize it when you're there. And so self-care has basically just become coming home and finding entertaining escapism on Netflix, and I highly recommend RuPaul's Drag Race. That's it for
Jess,
now.
maybe we should do a panel after all of this is over about your favorite show to watch during the pandemic.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go to Shania, and Elizabeth. So we'll do Shania first.
Yeah, so I'm, I guess, a little different from the other ladies on this panel in that I am still working full time, and I was always working full time. So from home, my husband's also working full time from home, and we have our 4-year-old home full time. So writing, which was, in the evenings, is now kind of not even a thing. Okay. So trying to work full time and parent full time at the same time is crazy. And I guess self-care is kind of just like not being down on myself for getting no writing done. Like I know there's a lot of books out there who are like, you have to write 1,000 words a day. And like, I'm sure some of you, I mean, if you're relying on this for like your income, because I have a full-time job, so it's like a different thing. But yeah, I'm just letting it go and being easy on myself and not forcing myself to write or do anything stressful. At the end of the day, it's kind of like, I mean, we're all talking about Netflix, right? It's just collapse and Netflix and then sleep. So, and just letting myself do that without feeling guilty. There's enough guilt already with, am I parenting my kid right? And is he watching too much TV? And work, is it still, am I still getting everything done? So yeah, I guess just not getting down on yourself, and not reading the news too much because I find the news really stressful.
Cool.
But yeah.
Thank you. And Elizabeth, what are you doing right now?
Okay, so I still have a part-time job at a local pet food and supply store. But I decided because of my MS and I'm 50, and also there are some staffing issues at that store that make it unsafe because most of the younger people that work there are afraid to call in sick. And I actually worked an evening shift with somebody who had a cough and a fever and other symptoms that were troubling, and she should have been self-isolating, but I had to, anyway. After that shift, this was March 17th. After that shift, I told the owner that I was taking a leave of absence, and I've been on leave since. Now, The only thing is I do miss it a bit because I wouldn't want to be there right now because of what's going on with the pandemic. They're still open. I don't particularly think they're what do you call it, an essential business, because you can get pet food at the grocery store, but they are. So they're doing curbside pickup, and I don't know if you can pay over the phone, I think. Anyway, for my stress and my health and my family's health, I decided to take a leave, and I forgot to say I'm calling in from Ottawa.
Okay.
Yeah, but I miss the social aspect of my job the way it used to be. Talking to customers, it was active and physical. But I also appreciate the time I have right now to write. And I have actually been writing quite a bit. I have 2 projects on the go. I'm revising a manuscript, and I'm writing the rough draft of another one. But for me, the writing itself is almost self-care because it's my form of escape. And when I'm writing my book, and I'm in that world and I'm not in this world, and I'm not worrying about what's going on. But the other thing I had to do, so because I'm not working, I can take my time on those projects. I can do a little bit here, a little bit there. It's something that can occupy me during the day, but I needed some structure. And also I'm looking at hopefully a change of career. So I'm actually taking an online course that's put out by the University of Toronto on how to teach English to foreign learners, because that's something that I can do from home. There's companies that hire you and you can do that from home, or you can tutor kids in other countries, which is something that I would like to do in the future. So, and also it encompasses a relearning of English grammar, which is always good for a writer. But I mean, for self-care, you basically do right now, do what doesn't stress you and what makes you happy and what relaxes you.
Okay. So I've had kind of a question for all of you guys, and on my end, I'm having a bit of a technical difficulty. So if I freeze, just let me know or something. But do you think that we as creatives have unique needs for self-care that perhaps non-creatives don't have? And we'll start with, okay, I see a couple head nods. So Shayna, Shania, I'm going to go with you first. Do you think creatives are unique?
Actually, I don't have an answer right away for this one. Maybe you could go to the next person.
Okay. All right. Sasha, you were nodding your head a little bit.
I totally feel like we do, because I think that like Elizabeth was saying, the creative outlet is your escape sometimes. I've never met a creative person, be it an artist, a photographer, a writer, who doesn't find their happy place when they're creating. That's why we call ourselves creators. It's the same as people like Amy, who does knitting and crocheting or something like that. Anything like that is where you can focus on what you're doing, and the rest of the world fades away. And while we get that when we binge watch something on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, or watch a movie, I think that creating something like that not only helps us find that happy place, but it gives you a sense of pride and a sense of accomplishment when you have that finished product afterwards. And achieving a sense of accomplishment and having a sense of pride in anything you do is essential to your own mental health and maintaining mental health. I'm sure we all know that's one of the reasons why we like having that finished print book in our hands. Ebooks are wonderful. I mean, I love having them and everything, but who doesn't enjoy doing a book signing and having those print books and seeing people hold that product and knowing that it came from only inside your brain, and it's your creativity. So that it's a full circle thing. I think that in order to be able to create, you have to be in a happy place, but to get to that happy place, you create. So I think in order to maintain that happy place, we have to do a lot of things that everybody does as far as self-care, like the exercise and eating right and trying not to be so sedentary and stuff like that. But none of that matters if we're not creating.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like
Mhm.
in my world, it makes sense.
Do any of you else want to add something? Okay, Amy.
Well, I was just gonna say too, like often when I'm stuck, I've learned through taking some courses about what my strengths are through the Clifton Strength Finder. I need to think at least for 2 weeks. So even if I'm not putting the words on paper, it's in my head percolating. So I keep my hands busy and being creative, crocheting, knitting. Everything is going on in my brain in the background. Even if I'm watching Netflix, something is happening, and then I sit down and write. So I've learned that process over the last couple of years. So yeah, exactly. I agree with what Sasha was saying. It's a matter of it feels good to produce that item, but also I am working too in the background. It keeps my mind going and it keeps my mental health. I keep very happy.
Alexa, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I guess I just want to talk about pressure though. I mean, there's so many people who are like putting a lot of pressure on themselves right now because they're at home and they feel they need to produce and they feel they need to take that time to write more books or to do this and to do that. And hey, like, look, I've written 3 books during this pandemic and it's been fucking hard. Like some days it was just like, I need to do this to make money. But I am not into it and it hurts to be creative right now because I don't know. And it's not just like an I don't know, like an I don't know, but it's like what's going to happen tomorrow. And my husband's a volunteer firefighter, right? So he's essential. And if there's a call, he's going into someone's house. So it's just like this time of stress. And I just feel like it's some people will find that this is a good time to be creative, but I just want to take a moment and say, like, if you can't be creative right now, fucking don't force it. It's fine. Don't force it. Don't put that added pressure on yourself because it hurts and you don't like, we're all hurting right now. Don't push on that wound if you don't have to. If all you can do is read or lie on like the couch and watch Netflix, then forget writing right now. It's okay. And I mean, I don't know that anyone's going to agree with me and just be like, no, you have to push. If you have to push because it's your job like me, okay, yes, we all have to be adults sometimes. But if you don't really have to, or if it's really causing you pain, don't lean into it. Like you're not doing yourself any favors if you're aggravating trauma. Like no one wants that. And you also have to remember, you're going to have to live after. If you're pushing on your wounds, if you're pushing on your trauma right now, remember that when this is over, you have to survive. You don't want to aggravate anything. So that's what I mean when I say like, be kind to yourself.
Elizabeth, I'll go to you next because you're raising your hand. And then Eve, I don't know, you haven't added anything. I don't know if you want to add anything or not. So
okay, well, can I speak
now?
now?
Elizabeth, go.
Yeah, so I'm very lucky right now because my creative side is just like I'm writing a lot and it's working for me at the moment. But I would just like to say that I did not write for about 10 years, maybe 7 or 8. I think it was 10 years. When I turned 30, I finished writing a feature-length screenplay, which that was something I wanted to accomplish. And then I got together with my husband, we dated, we got engaged, we got married, I had my first child, I had my second child, I was working full-time. I did not write. I think I wrote a handful of poems in all that time. And there were occasions that I thought, oh God, I'm a writer, I should be writing. Now it's true, I didn't have a career to maintain at that point. I mean, I barely have a career to maintain at this point. I don't make a lot of money from my writing, but I remember at the time doubting and thinking, God, am I ever going to write again? But I did. And I once my kids, my youngest son, my son turned 2 or 3. And actually after my MS diagnosis, I thought, you know what, it's time to start and see what I can do. And I've been writing since then. But you have to have a balance, because I can go too far too, and I can spend too much energy on it. So I do have to pull back sometimes and say, okay, it's time to watch some Netflix or read a book, because my brain's getting tired and I don't want to have a relapse. So.
Thanks. Eve, did you want to add anything?
I think everyone has summed it up pretty nicely. I don't really have much to add to that topic.
Okay. Shayna, did you come up with something you wanted to say?
I guess just yeah, I'm more in I think we lost Alexa, but I'm in more Alexa's camp, where writing can be stressful for me. I'm one of those like authors who like writes and then it's like, this is crap, and deletes everything, and then like has a breakdown, and then has to take 2 weeks off and then starts again. So it's like it's a whole thing. And like yeah, so then in times when other things are stressful, like when my son was born, or like now with COVID and everything, yeah, so it tends to be staying away from writing tends to be better for me right now. But finding other creative outlets is interesting and important, I think, because as a creative person, I think even if being creative in the way that I the most, I don't know, prone to or have the most talent in isn't working right now, finding something else to do that's creative, like we're talking about knitting or sewing. Sometimes I do needlepoint, or like just something that where you're creating something that's not stressful. I think is important right now, at least for me.
Sasha, you wanted to add something?
I do. I want to reply to what Alexa said, and kind of also like Shayna, back it up that when if you're feeling like that this is too painful to create or to write or anything like that, then definitely don't do it, because during this time, not just this time, but when it ends and when things reopen and things go back, we're all gonna be feeling after effects of this, and we can't minimize what we're gonna feel from this, and minimizing it now or later is bad. Um, I wanted to stress though too, for writers, and in the other way, as somebody who took time off, and I thought that I would keep writing, and I didn't, and I wanted to take a month or two off of writing when I thought I was burnt out. I didn't realize it was actually a deep depression until 2 years passed and I hadn't written anything, and a doctor diagnosed it. But maintaining some sort of habit is really important if you want to keep writing. But it doesn't have. I'm not saying write for money. Do something for yourself, like do a journal. Just do those morning pages, and if all you want to write on is how scared you are and how fucked up the world is right now, and how you don't want to see people or anything like that, then just keeping some kind of habit will help you get back to writing creatively when you want to. But it will also help your mental state right now with dealing with whatever it is that you're dealing with. That's my opinion on that matter. That's all I wanted.
Couple are talking, and one of the things I wanted to talk about is we talked about balancing that writing life with a personal life or with a job. What are some things that help you guys do that? And we'll start with Elizabeth first this time. So how do you work on balancing that life, your life?
Okay, so luckily, I mean, I do have 2 kids and a husband, so I can't ignore them completely. But I do kind of I follow a pretty lazy parenting style, but I have to be careful that I don't, that I do, pay enough attention and check in on my kids. My kids are older. So my daughter is almost 16 and my son is 13. My daughter is doing pretty well in terms of maintaining her mental health, although she really misses not being able to gallivant around the city, take the bus to the mall, hang out with her friends. She's quite an extrovert. But so the first couple of weeks were really tough for her, but she's kind of, I think, settled in, and she at least is on social media. She connects with her friends on her iPhone, and she's I've told them that I don't expect them to do everything that the teachers are assigning, but I would like them to do as much as they can. But I've left them to themselves. My daughter did a fantastic project for science, actually, on multiple sclerosis, which will bring her mark up a bit. And my son is doing his assignments, but his personality is a lot more like mine. So he's tends to be anxious, and he's very stressed. So I'm not pushing him too much, but he's doing some of the assignments. But so I do have to parent, and my husband, likes to spend some time with me in the evenings without me on my computer staring, doing my writing. So yeah, you do have to definitely find a balance. And I confess that I do become quite obsessive sometimes with my writing. So I have to kind of force myself to put it away and engage with my family, because otherwise it would not be a good situation.
Okay, thank you. Eve, we'll go to you next. How do you work on balancing your family life with your writing life?
For me, I actually have to give myself a schedule.
Okay.
Specifically with my daughter. So, I have a big whiteboard, and this is what I'm going to do at this time, this time, and this time. So in the mornings, I'm giving her, and that's on the weekdays, I'm giving her school lessons, like she's actually having school. And, a good thing about this school district, I don't know about all school districts, but they're actually doing teleclasses. So like she gets to see her teachers every day. And so I'm sitting there with her, helping her. And then once, schoolwork is done, make lunch, and then I write for a couple hours. And then, then I play with her a little bit. We play games, we do puzzles and stuff. And then my husband comes home and I cook dinner, and I'm sticking to my schedule, and that helps me.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's just chaos. It's just chaos. I have to give
So
myself that structure.
you
Because
find, that structure, that's what keeps you going.
I need structure, because if I
Okay.
don't, I will sit in front of the TV all day and watch Netflix or Hulu, or watch like 10 new anime or something like that. So yeah, that's how I find my balance.
Okay.
And, I still have those crunchy bars, so I'll reward myself, with a crunchy bar. You know, if you ever want to send me some more, Amy, my Canadian friend, they don't sell crunchy bars in the United States, except if you go to the specialty shops. So, just saying, somebody wants to take pity on me, send me some crunchy bars. I'd appreciate it.
Amy, what are some things that you do to help balance your writing life with your rest of your life?
Like Abe, I have a schedule, I have structure, but I didn't always have structure. So I was spending a lot of time staring at my computer at a blank page, frustrating myself for years, trying to get words written because I had contracts and deadlines with Harlequin. And yeah, it took learning a lot about myself through that Strengths for Writers course I was talking about, Write Better, Faster. It really helped me. And I write a bit or think. I spend 2 weeks thinking. Like I've learned that's what I have to do. So I have a nice schedule. Honestly, I used to never get up early, but I get up early. I don't even write. I just sit there in the quiet and take my moments to think, and the kids are sleeping, and I steal my moments to get words in if I have to. And yeah, I'm all about structure that works for my son and me and the rest of the family. And so in the evenings, I have time with them.
Shayna, what are some things that you do with, especially, you're working full time, your husband's working full time, you got your 4-year-old daughter, and you're trying to write. So how do you balance everything?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's not balancing at all. Okay, so
Okay, after
yeah,
pre-COVID-19.
let's talk about before or after COVID, because right now there's just 2 full-time jobs all day, and then nothing in the evening. But normally, I mean, I'm not scheduling anything. um trying to write at least twice a week in the evenings, and if I'm not feeling it, doing other things. Like right now I'm trying to and I am sort of doing some stuff, like I'm going to be self-publishing a book, so I have to do a lot of the formatting and stuff like that rather than paying someone for it. So you're still working on your stuff, still feel like you're achieving
Mhm.
something, even if you're not necessarily doing the writing, or editing, which always needs to be done, working on that, or just like Amy was talking about, a lot of coming up with plots. What I just call it, a lot of it is daydreaming, right? You have to give yourself some time to think. And if you're working all day and then you're parenting all day and then Netflix, it just occupies your mind,
Yeah.
right? And you have no time to just sit there and think and be quiet. So just like taking a walk and letting myself actually think about the plot of the book I'm trying to write, or the next thing that's coming, I think is also important. So making time for that.
Alexa? I'm sorry. Thank you, Shayna. Alexa,
Yeah.
how do you balance? I mean, because if you're working full time, you don't want to just be 24/7 working. So how do you balance all of that?
I'll be really honest, I don't. I am horrible at, I'll create a schedule and I'll tell myself, like, okay, you can work until 3 or you can work until 4. And I'm around and I'm not going to stop. And I'm not going to stop until I break.
Mhm.
And this is the thing with me. It's a pattern. I always push too hard. Like, it's not good. And it's funny that I'm sitting on a panel about self-care and it's like I'm imperfect in my self-care because I have a huge problem giving myself what I need. Now, I don't want to get too like philosophical or like psychological about it, but like a lot of it has to do with my own needs weren't met when I was a kid. There was a lot of neglect and stuff like that. So now what is comfortable for me is neglecting myself. That's like mother's milk to me. So
Yeah.
when I'm pushing too hard and I'm working and I'm working and I'm working and I give myself the like impossible goals, it actually feels better than giving myself space, which is why I tell people take the space, be kind, because fuck, I wish I could do that to myself. I wish I could
Yeah.
be kind to myself and take the step back and not obsess about all these goals that I have and just ease the pressure. I don't know how. I do, but it's a work in progress. And like I say, it's imperfect. I make mistakes with it all the time. Sometimes it'll be 8 o'clock and I'll look at my husband and be like, I've been working since 6 a.m., haven't I? And he'll be like, well, yeah. So I neglect him a little bit, but it's like, I'm very good at saying I'll keep a boundary. This is what I'm doing today. And, that's what it's going to be. But then that self-doubt or all those voices that are like, no, it's not enough, or you haven't done enough, or you need to prove yourself, or you're just being lazy. Who cares if it's a pandemic? Get off your ass and do something. Like that super negative self-talk is super damaging, but it's loud. So I'm going to be super honest. I'm not managing it at all. I'm doing a super shit job of like not being on the treadmill for 2 hours because, hey, that feels good, even though I'm dying, like especially right now, balance is hard, but if you already have a problem with keeping a balance, I feel like this is kind of like a pressure cooker for it because you're just going to want to lean into it, even though that's the opposite of what you should do. So when I say like, be kind, give yourself space, what I'm actually saying is, hey, Alexa, practice what you preach, like, I don't know.
Well, raise your hand, all of you that are on the panel, if your self-care is perfect, even when we're not in a pandemic. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. It's really hard. Thank you for that. Sasha, would you like to add something to that?
Actually, I'm sort of like Alexa. I suck at limiting myself and everything, and controlling myself or setting a schedule. I am great at writing lists of what I want to do and what needs myself there managed to do, which is one of the reasons why I keep an outside job. I was a full-time writer. I was a full-time writer for 5 years, and I wrote a lot and I accomplished a lot and I built a career that I'm very proud of, but I also gained 150 pounds and I fell into a depression and suffered for it.
Mm-hmm.
I am an outgoing introvert. Like I like my me time and I need that me time, but I'm also a very gregarious and outgoing person and I need the people time too, which is why retail work works for me. And I use that scheduling of that they put me through to help my self-care. I have that because it forces me to get my ass out of bed at a certain time when I have to go to work. It forces me to get out of the house and interact with people, and it forces me to be physical. Um, I did really good for the first 2 years at the place that I'm at now, and then they put me on front as a cashier, and I love being a cashier because I'm great with the people, and I have no problem with monies because I was a bartender and a waitress for 15 years. But standing still was not good for me at all, and I gained back the 40 pounds that I had previously lost 2 years ago, and that's one of the reasons why I went to the night shifts now. I work as a shopper, like for all the online orders, which is really crazy right now, but it's running my ass off, and it's running around the store, and that's especially now with the gym closed. Like when I fell in January and shattered my wrist, it was my first day back at the gym. Like it's just, so
The
it's like,
irony in that.
yeah, there really is. I was like, man, I just when I was getting to the point where I thought I could start being physical again and working out again, and I fell and I did that. But I use work for that. I use it to get out of the house and force myself to stick to a schedule, and to be I chose a job that is physical, and that schedule is what allows me to maintain some sort of self-care schedule. So without that, like I don't think I'll ever go back to being just a full-time writer again. I can't. I
Mm.
don't, I'm not very good at sticking to my own limits or doing my own self-care, and being single and living alone. It's very easy to become hyper focused on what you're doing and forget about the outside world and become that hermit and gain that weight. um I have a roommate now, and she checks in on me when I'm in my room too much
Oh,
or
that's
when I'm
good.
writing too much, and we make sure we have dinner together. So like I have to use outside forces to maintain my self-care because I'm not very good at it myself. So that
Okay.
that
See?
might be a tip for other people. Like, I mean, if you have other people at home with you, like ask them, like, you know if I'm stuck, I have my schedule, I want to be done writing at 3 o'clock, don't let me keep going, like, and don't take it personally when I curse and swear at you and tell you to fuck off because I want to keep working.
One
you
more
know like
chapter. One more chapter.
yeah, like because we're all like that. But
Right.
if you can find those ways to limit yourself, like I find that I get up and I write before I go to work, because if I stop when I go to work, um when I'm done work, I want to come back to it. And if I just keep writing until the point where I feel like I'm done, it's really hard to get started again. I'm not one of those people who loves to sit down and write. I actually hate the physical act of writing, so, until I'm into it. And when
Yeah.
I'm in it's when I'm in it, then I don't want to get out of it. So
Right.
I've learned that I need help to maintain some sort of a healthy schedule.
Okay. We're going to go around. We're almost finished, but I wanted to give everybody a chance to share what is one thing that you do that is either free or that doesn't cost very much money that you would highly recommend. Like if you could only do this one thing for self-care, this is what you should do. And we're going to start with Amy. We'll start with you this time.
I was hoping I'd be last because I'm like, oh, I have no idea.
Oh.
Like,
Nothing like putting you on the spot. Well, free or just low cost? I mean, obviously, if we could have, like live in a paradise island and have massages all the time and gourmet food, that'd be awesome. But
true. I have a big yarn stash, so I mean it's pretty free. I have enough yarn to probably crochet until I die, like really. And so right now that's pretty low cost. I think another thing is my gym has a Facebook page where all the members connect and talk. So chatting with them is great. So I think that's pretty, yeah. That's my
Okay.
free.
Okay. Eve, what would you suggest?
Take a walk. I love taking a walk in my neighborhood. Um, Especially when it's a nice day like this. I'll probably take a walk later on today, me and my daughter and my dog, and we'll just walk around the neighborhood. And it's free.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic, before I had started, um, before the pandemic and my daughter went to school, every day I would go for a walk right before I started writing, and that helped jog my, brain and get my juices flowing and, get the blood flowing. I took a walk for about an hour, and I used that time to think and just soak up the sun, and made me feel good and made me, really help me stick to my schedule. And I noticed a marked difference when I'm not doing some type of physical activity versus when I am. So taking a walk.
All right. Elizabeth?
Okay. So Eve stole mine because I was going to say take a walk. That's okay. So also it was a tie between taking a walk and having a hot bath, because I do find having a bath is the easiest way for me to reduce my stress. Like my muscles they all clench, right? And then when I get into a hot bath and I just let everything relax, and that's a big deal for me. And I also wanted to just say these are not free things, but pets. We have a puppy that we just got in December, and I'm so grateful that we got him because he's a distraction. He's very loving, and he gives us hugs and kisses all the time, and that's a really nice form of self-care.
Yeah. Awesome. Alexa?
So I guess Elizabeth stole mine. Definitely a hot bath. I just want to touch on something. A lot of people said that like working out and going for walks is good. I'll just mention this. For some people, doing physical activity is actually very problematic and an addiction. So I just want to say, again, there's a lot of like, so some people are saying like, oh, damn that COVID-19, like I've gained 15 pounds, whatever. Like, just be nice. And I'm specifically saying this for anyone who's like maybe struggling with eating disorders, body dysmorphia, or an addiction to exercise. I know it sounds silly to say, but if that is a struggle that you have right now, that those kinds of disorders are very much aggravated by what's going on. So just, I mean, if you are that kind of person, do not go and exercise unless it is absolutely necessary. Have a bath instead, take a nap, do something that's kinder and gentler that won't make you push yourself further than you need to be pushed. And I mean, I'm going to say it again, but be kind to you. Like, this is what I would say, like, like if you are in any kind of like emotional distress about what's going on or just anything, remember, like, treat yourself how you would treat like a niece or a nephew or one of your children. Try to talk to yourself how you would talk to little you, or how you would have wanted someone to talk to little you. Like, I have a hard time with that. So sometimes when I'll talk to myself, I'll just be like, oh, hey, like, I have a niece and a nephew who I adore. Would I say this stuff to them? No. So then I kind of correct what I'm trying, like what I'm saying to myself or how I'm saying it. So maybe that's something that we should maybe do that's free. Maybe be kind to the little us inside. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's
I think it makes total sense. Shayna?
So I was also going to say taking a walk. So we're just going to cut out the walking part, and I'm just going to go with just daydream. Give yourself some time, lie on your bed. Well, I'll be doing it while I'm walking, but you don't have to be walking. Carve out some time and just let your
I mean, and if you're not into any of that kind of stuff, or you're uncomfortable with that kind of stuff, honestly, for me, also reading.
Yeah.
I go back to
Well,
highly recommend it.
Yeah. And you heard it here, folks. Only at RTC. We start with Alyssa. I keep pointing at the screen like I'm pointing at you personally, but we're all probably a different lineup. So give us like 30 seconds of where we can find you and what you're working on right now. 30 seconds. Go.
Okay,
Alexa.
so I just had a new release called Duping Death Witch Blunder. It's book 2 in my Dread
I work on a new secret project that I'm not telling anybody about right now, except for my patrons on Patreon.
Okay. I don't think we are actually online anymore. I think it cut us off. I think it cut us off. So you guys go into the, it's back on. Okay, well, it's back on. So Shayna and then Elizabeth, tell us real quick, 30 seconds.
Yeah, you can find me at www.shaynakrishnasamy.com or on Facebook. I have a literary fiction novel that I've been working on for like 10 years that I think I'm finally going to be self-publishing sometime this summer.
Awesome. Thank you. And Elizabeth.
Okay, so my new website that I've been working really hard on, aelister.com, super easy, aelister.com. Facebook group is Elizabeth Lister's, or sorry, AE Lister's Kinky Clubhouse. And I have a very kinky BDSM series, first book coming out November with 9-Star Press. First book is called Stable Hand. It takes place at a pony play ranch for men.
Awesome. Along the lines of the sex we were talking about earlier with self-care.
That's it.
All right, ladies, everybody, thank you very much. Make sure you go to the RTC group and post your links so that people can find you in case they didn't get you in the transition time. I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you, Jess, for putting this together, and everybody have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.